Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam reading in the morning. We'll begin with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now we'll recite the prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam as an invocation for blessings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Shushrusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Kadharuchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirthani Shevanat Shrinvatam Swakadha Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrutsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tadha rajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayasche cheta etar anavidham stitam sattve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grandhis chidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante jasya karmani drishta evatmanishvare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, devotees. Welcome again for our Srimad Bhagavatam reading. I seek all of your prayers and blessings for us to be able to connect to the message and somehow take it to our hearts, the message that's coming from the devotees, from the Lord himself, and to be able to apply, at least in some extent of our lives. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, text 32 of chapter 15, canto 1. We have been discussing this Pandavas retiring timely, and yesterday's discussion was focused on how Arjuna, even though he was feeling this intense separation, when he remembered the instructions of the Lord, he was able to feel Krishna's presence even through the separation, and thus became free from the dualities and be able to fix himself. And today we will hear about Maharaj Yudhishthira. Nishamya Bhagavan Margam Samstham Yadukulasya cha Swapathaya Matim Chakre Nibhritatma Yudhishthiraha. Nishamya Bhagavan Margam Samstham Yadukulasya Cha Swapathaya Matim Chakre Nibhritatma Yudhishthiraha. Nishamya, deliberating. Bhagavat, regarding the Lord. Margam, the ways of his appearance and disappearance. Samstham, and Yadukulasya, of the dynasty of King Yadu. Cha, also. Swa, the abode of the Lord. Pathaya, on the way of. Matim, desire. Chakre, gave attention. Nibhrita Atma, lonely and alone. Yudhishthiraha, King Yudhishthira. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Upon hearing of Lord Krishna's returning to his abode, and upon understanding the end of the Yadu dynasty's earthly manifestation, Maharaj Yudhishthira decided to go back home, back to Godhead. Purport. Maharaja Yudhishthira also turned his attention to the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita after hearing about the Lord's departure from the vision of earthly people. He began to deliberate on the Lord's way of appearance and departure. The mission of the Lord's appearance and disappearance in the mortal universes is completely dependent on his supreme will. He is not forced to appear or disappear by any superior energy, as the living beings appear and disappear, being forced by the laws of nature. So we have heard in the past, I think, text, chapter 13, Narada Muni comes and he kind of gives the hint that Lord's pastimes are going to be ending, and you just stay here until Lord completes his pastimes. So now Yudhishthira Maharaj remembers that hint and wanted to follow Narada Muni's instructions, and he's actually deliberating on the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada is writing, Maharaj Yudhishthira also turned his attention, because we have heard how Arjuna was able to turn his attention to Bhagavad Gita and thus be able to come out of that. And similarly, we can see here, Maharaj Yudhishthira is also deliberating on that. And Prabhupada is actually writing something beautiful. Prabhupada, not writing, Prabhupada actually spoke on this verse. And he's talking about this Swapathaya Matim Chakre. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is actually deliberating on this, and Prabhupada speaks this. So this is to be understood. Therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Swapathaya Matim Chakre. This is meditation actually. What I am, where from I have come. I am eternal. Why my body is not eternal? I would have been very happy if my body would have been eternal, but that's not being possible. Everyone knows. But I desire that I may not die. My body may not be vanquished. That is my desire. But nobody is meditating upon this subject matter. They have learned some meditation. I do not know what kind of meditation, but this is meditation. Matim Chakre. Sohpathaya Matim Chakre Nibhritatma Yudhishthiraha. So these things are to be solved. So Yudhishthira Maharaja, now he will retire after this. So he will give up the kingdom. Not that this is a Vedic system. However rich you may be, however prosperous you may be at your home or in your nation or in any way as you think, but you have to think that actually these things are temporary. I am eternal. So what is my eternal function? That is meditation. What is my eternal function? What is my eternal duty? Where is my eternal home? That is Krishna consciousness. I felt that paragraph was really beautiful. I mean, the whole class was really nice. How Prabhupada is really stressing upon each of these lines in the purport. What is the purpose of this life? I mean, we say we are householders and I have this duty, that duty, and so much of that goes on in the meditation. I was thinking about this morning while chanting so many things, for the day, like, okay, work, this is happening and I have to do this and cooking and this thing, that thing. So much is coming in the meditation. Even that, the little time that we take for japa, we have so much is going on. But what is to be deliberated actually is, we can take this example from here with Yudhishthira Maharaja. This is what we have to begin to deliberate on the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because that is what is going to help us go to our eternal nature. All these other things we are meditating upon, just at the end of life, everything is finished. We just cannot do anything. And even otherwise, even if we think, having so-called control and planning and this thing, that thing, but we really know that we don't have any control on these things. But we are very fortunate to have these instructions and have these examples to follow, how we have to meditate upon these instructions. And then Prabhupada is bringing upon this Lord's appearance and disappearance from Bhagavad Gita 4:9, how one can become free from this birth and death cycle just by understanding Lord's appearance and disappearance. So whenever the Lord likes, he can appear himself from anywhere and everywhere without disturbing his appearance and disappearance in any other place. He is like the sun. The sun appears and disappears on its own accord at any place without disturbing its presence in other places. The sun appears in the morning in India without disappearing from the Western Hemisphere. The sun is present everywhere and anywhere all over the solar system, but it so appears that in a particular place, the sun appears in the morning and also disappears at some fixed time in the evening. The time limitation even of the sun is of no concern. And so what to speak of the Supreme Lord, who is the creator and controller of the sun? So we can understand just with the sun itself, there is this transition period where we can see, people in India also can see, and we also have sunlight, especially in summers. We have sunlight until almost 8:30, 9 o'clock. And at the same time, even in India, they also have that, the sunlight early morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock, we'll have sunlight in India. So it's not that sun has to disappear from here in order to appear somewhere else. And that we can understand, this is only one sun in the universe. But with Krishna, we can understand how he can, simultaneously, he is in the Paramatma feature and he is in the Bhagavan feature. And in his Bhagavan feature, he can actually have multiple forms. We can see from this Brahma Vimohan Leela and Rasa Leela, and in Dwaraka when Narada Muni is visiting, it's at the same time he's actually present in all these different palaces and with each gopi in the Rasa Leela. So for him, there is no problem at all. He can actually have, multiple innumerable forms, and it's just himself. He's just one. So it is actually incomprehensible for us. It's just like, we cannot understand with our limited material mind. But at the same time, actually Prabhupada describes this beautifully in Bhagavad Gita 4:9 purport. We cannot understand, but somehow if we have faith in these narrations, in Krishna's appearance and disappearance, that it is transcendental, and if we take this on the faith based on the Vedic literature and based on his words in Bhagavad Gita, one can actually be able to understand, because the Lord can actually give us the intelligence to understand it in whatever capacity we have. So that is really the thing that we can understand. So, and Prabhupada is bringing it here. So just for sun itself, the time limitation is of no concern. So we can only imagine what it is for the Supreme Lord, who is actually the creator, controller of the sun and everything in this universe. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that anyone who factually understands the transcendental appearance and disappearance of the Lord by his inconceivable energy becomes liberated from the loss of birth and death and is placed in the eternal spiritual sky where the Vaikuntha planets are. There, such liberated persons can eternally live without the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. In the spiritual sky, the Lord and those who are eternally engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are all eternally young because there is no old age and disease, and there is no death. Because there is no death, there is no birth. So just this is so beautiful how Prabhupada is bringing here, and we have been reading this Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter in our Bhakti Shastri study, how Krishna is giving assurance to all of us through by his instructions to Arjuna that it is possible for you. It's very easy. Just, fix your mind on me and hear these instructions and try to understand and follow. And you are definitely going to come back to this place where you don't have to go back and there is no more birth and death. That is actually what we are struggling. I mean, underneath all our struggles is we want to become eternal. We want to become, be happy in our true position. But unfortunately, we are trying that in all kinds of things other than where we can really, truly find the happiness. But this is where we can see how all these residents in the spiritual world, they are eternally engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And they're eternally young. And, we hear these descriptions. Every step is a dance. Every word is a song. Just thinking of itself is, the heart is filled so much with that happiness. It's so enlivening just to hear this Krishna Katha. Because there is no death, there is no birth. It is concluded, therefore, that simply by understanding the Lord's appearance and disappearance in truth, one can attain the perfectional stage of eternal life. Therefore, Maharaja Yudhishthira also began to consider going back to Godhead. And here Maharaja Yudhishthira is deliberating in all these instructions, their presence with the Lord and how the Lord was actually instructing them in many, many times with his own example and with his instructions, with his relationship with the Pandavas. So Maharaj Yudhishthira is deliberating on all that and he wants to go back. It's not that, he is actually the king. He has all kinds of, opulences. He could have said, okay, fine, I'll deliberate these instructions and continue my, continue my kingdom, reigning the kingdom, but he's not doing that. He's actually considering Narada Muni's instruction or hint, and then he wants to retire and go back to Godhead. The Lord appears on the earth or any other mortal planet along with his associates who live with him eternally. And the members of the Yadu family who were engaged in supplementing the pastimes of the Lord are no other than his eternal associates. And so also Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers and mother, etc. So we can understand all these Yadu dynasty, Pandavas, all are actually eternal associates of the Lord, and they appear to help in his pastimes so that we have all these, narrations. I was thinking like the other day, Mahabharata, some of these things, really kind of very, what do you call, very fancy. We hear of Harry Potter, this thing, that thing. But if we consider the kind of, the subject matter, what is there, it's nothing can actually come closer to the kind of suspense and chivalry and romance and whatever we think of the different subject matters that people actually look in what they're watching or what they're reading. We have everything in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is more of instructions, but in Krishna Katha specifically, the pastimes of the Lord with his devotees. So this is done, so it can actually help us. We can meditate on these pastimes. These pastimes of Vrindavan with all his cowherd boys and the gopis, All these are actually to stimulate us who are rotting in this material literature and material entertainment, to actually give us this opportunity to meditate on his pastimes, because they are transcendental and they can help us go past our conditioning. Since the appearance and disappearance of the Lord and his eternal associates are transcendental, one should not be bewildered by the external features of appearance and disappearance. This statement somehow was very stuck for me. So we are understanding appearance and disappearance of the Lord are transcendental. We can understand, okay, Krishna is the Lord, and he is Divyam. His form and his pastimes, everything is transcendental. But when it comes to his devotees, of course, Prabhupada is bringing here eternal associates, which is one of the things that I struggle is this Yadu dynasty. How come, I mean, they're like direct sons and grandsons, so directly related, and even beyond this, they're eternal associates. How could those people, come under this intoxication effect and fight with each other and kill each other? It's just kind of, just so mind-boggling. We cannot, at least I had hard time deciphering that and being able to accept that it's also the Lord's plan. I don't remember the exact verse, but Prabhupada writes in one of the second canto purports, actually, this is the plan of the Lord, because they have to complete their pastimes and they have to go back. So Krishna has actually orchestrated this plan. We can ask why this way, and why not this way? So some of the pastimes, it's actually not easy for us to understand, because we try to put things in this kind of box, and it has to be just in this way. Okay, Krishna is doing this, but it has to be just within this whatever dharmic or kind of a whatever we know, that limited thing. We expect and try to constrain Krishna and his pastimes to that level. But sometimes, these kind of pastimes can help us. He is actually beyond our understanding, and he is inconceivable. So this is one of the pastime. It's actually orchestrated specifically so they can go back. It's not that, material energy has influenced them, or they we conditioned soul come under our influence, and we cannot control and go to, all this kind of drinking, smoking, or whatever stuff. It's not really like that. And the other thing, I had been thinking about the recent passing away of His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu and His Holiness Bhaktichara Swami Maharaj. Like, how could this material energy touch them like this? I mean, we understand Corona, it can happen to anyone, but not to such kind of, surrendered souls. And we hear so many of these pastimes of Lord Narasimhadev in Mayapur, where, just someone, not even in physical, they're kind of remote, and they just pray, offer prayers, and so miraculously, like, just so amazing how he reciprocates and how he actually awards the protection even on a material level. So I was thinking, I mean, for someone who has been serving so intimately for 50 years, how could this COVID has the power to, forget about taking him away, even to touch that kind of a devotee? If the Lord really wants, or if the devotee desires, it is very much possible that they are in the middle of that and can not be affected. But while reading this purport and thinking about this struck for me, one should not be bewildered by the external features of appearance and disappearance. So it may apparently seem that they have left because of COVID and, the effect of whatever lungs and this thing, that thing, in a materialistic perspective. But it's actually not so. It is Lord's arrangement, and it must be, those devotees' desire, because Krishna is personally says he is actually controlled by the desires of such pure devotees. So this somehow brought, some solace to my heart as I was thinking, how can Krishna do this? Why he has to do this? So he has a plan for his devotees, and similar to his appearance and disappearance, the devotee's appearance and disappearance is also transcendental. So we have to go beyond these external features of that appearance and disappearance, the same way, like we can think of Bhaktichar Swami Maharaj. Like I was thinking, okay, fine, he has to leave, but why in that setting where no devotees are there? Like, it's just so hard. But it's also to instruct us that a pure devotee, wherever they are completely in these contemplations, as we are hearing with Maharaj Yudhishthira, that kind of a deliberation and contemplation. They're always in thoughts of Krishna. It's for us, like, for we devotees, we need a devotees association for us to, someone to come and remind us about Krishna, to think of Krishna at that time. But wherever they are, the Lord is personally present, and all the, the pure devotees, they are actually present with them. So just to show us that it doesn't matter what condition, what, externally, whether they're in the middle of the devotees or no devotees around, or sudden untimely, or like with a cancer, like having enough time, it doesn't matter. They are actually completely fixed in remembering Krishna. So that is something we can meditate upon, how we have got this opportunity, Krishna's instructions to think of, and the way for us to be free from this and become eternal, just by understanding the transcendental nature of appearance and disappearance of the Lord and his devotees, and follow the examples of Pandavas and Maharaj Yudhishthira in particular in this verse. Yeah. So pathaya matim chakre. So fixing our attention on the instructions of the Lord. We are very, very fortunate by Srila Prabhupada's mercy that we are able to have this available to us. And somehow I was thinking of it, I was not able to attend the morning classes, but somehow the opportunity is there. We just have to make use of that. Even if we are not ready, the devotees are so kind enough to give us the opportunity to hear every day and meditate upon these instructions. So I'll stop here. Anyone here, kindly, any additions, corrections, anything you would like to share? Thank you. If we don't have anything, it's already 7:30. We can close the call here. Okay, thank you so much for joining this morning. Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Mathaji.